I'm curious, when you guys first decided to make the jump from like Nav to BC14, or even from the older ERP to Nav 2016, um, and maybe you don't know this, but do you think most users were on board with change, or was it kind of difficult and they figured we don't need to change, it's working, how we are?
Oh, I do know this. I mean, there was pitchforks and torches waiting for me. I mean, and and to that point, I mean, people are, change is a very scary thing. I mean, and the system that we were using
Absolutely.
was a glorified green screen system. It had not been upgraded, I want to say, in over 15 years, and I may be even being kind saying 15. So there was a lot of inherent knowledge, and these people, are very, very good at their jobs. So they don't need the system. The system is just a way of like tracking a few things that I did. And it's something just for the accountants to be able to reconcile. And it's not how I do my job. So trying to like put them into this system, which, like I said, I'm going from a green screen to, this disco ball that is, dynamics, at Nav at the time, just bright colors and things like that. And they're like, and it was a bit of a learning curve, and the other thing is, and this was a very hard thing for us, and it's one of the things that I can't stress enough when any implementation is knowing the process that you're actually doing. And most of the people that were in our old system knew the keystrokes. So they knew if I hit, Q and then the plus sign and enter, that takes me to where I need to be. What does Q plus sign enter do? I don't know.
Yeah.
Gets me to where I need to be, where I can enter this. And they don't realize that it's actually logging these transactions and it's doing all of these things. So there's a whole process to that implementation and teaching people, that it's not just so much hitting the keys. What are we doing? And let's walk that through and let's map out that process. And that's a very hard thing to do.
Mhm.
Um, because then as you're mapping out that process, you're finding out how many times that process splinters off.
Right.
Um, the biggest thing I always tell people is don't plan based on the exception. I mean, everyone's, well, when this happens, okay, fine. How often does that happen? Once a year. I don't care.
Right.
Tell me how we do it every day.
Yeah.
And that was a very hard thing too, is don't tell me about the exception. Let's go with the standard and mapping out the process and making the people realize that their knowledge of that process is extremely important to us.
Mhm.
And just because I'm putting it into the system doesn't mean you've gained or you've lost value. You've actually gained value because you're making the system. You're telling me how it flows. You're showing me this process. Now, anybody that's intelligent enough to do that, I could actually put you onto something else. And I think that's what you have to really stress to people is that you have a great knowledge. You've got us to this far with what you've done. Now imagine if I take that off of your plate and I can give you to the next thing. What's the next phase that, in your process that's driving you crazy? Imagine if I freed you up and you could fix that.
Right.
So it's presenting it in such a way that they realize that I'm not taking away anything from you because people are very proud of what they have and there's an ownership to it. And sometimes there's even a security to it of I know how to do this. And you're going to take it away and put it in the system. Yes, because you're more valuable than just a key puncher that just does. I want to take that knowledge out of you and I want to see what you can develop for me in the next part. And what downstream can you fix for me? And that's really that humble approach of saying we don't know the answers. And I think that's a huge part of it. And people usually view IT and the solutions that we bring is that we're trying to tell you how to do your job. No, I don't want to tell you how to do your job. You do your job. I want to help you not do busy work with your job. I want to allow a skilled, knowledgeable person to do things that actually require skill and knowledge. Let the system do the stuff that's tedious. And I think it's showing people that I'm not taking, I want to, really use the knowledge that you have and expand on what you have, not just keep you, stunted where you're at. So it's hard. I'm not going to say that it's easy, but I think once you get over that big hurdle, then it just starts to go. And having a good user base that sees changes, they become your best advocates. I could say BC, Nav, I could say anything's great all I want. Great, it's the IT guy. It's his job to do it. If I don't like it, he doesn't have a job. Not 100% true, but at the end of the day, they don't trust it. But now, if their coworker loves it and he's saying, it is that good, it does help me. My job got a ton easier with this. that's the best advertisement I can get for the system. And that's the best sort of advocate that I could have, or the end user is the best advocate for the system. Like I said, I could preach it all day. They're the ones who have the better respect of their coworkers, and they're going to be the ones that go, George loves it, then it must be good, because George doesn't love anything. And so that's to me was a good path, or a hard path. But now people look forward to the upgrades.
So at the end of the day, appreciate the people you work with, and user training is very important.
Oh God, yeah.